Well, so that's the focus of our conversation. Next, the relationship between farmers and herders in Ekiti State, a particular area of Ekiti State. Well, so we don't begin to make assumptions, we have two gentlemen with us in the studio to weigh in on this matter, the very primary principal actors. We have the Commissioner for Information in Ekiti State with us here in the studio, Mr. Muiwa Olumilua. Thank you so much for your time. Good morning. And we also have the Chairman, Southwest Zone, Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, Mohammed Laba. Thank you so much for your time.
Good morning.
Mr. Olumilua, let me begin with you. So, on the one hand, in that report, you're saying that nothing untoward happened in Ekiti State, yet we saw people on the streets protesting. Please bring us up to speed.
Well, thank you. Like I said, in the report, nothing actually happened. The truth of the matter is that some time back, there was an incident in Orin-Ekiti where one of the indigents was, killed. That was in June, about 6 months ago. But recently, nothing of that sort has happened. So why, the protests, why there was a protest, we don't know.
But you also saw that the people are concerned that a flag was raised to sever some area of their community off without, in other words, nobody who is a member of the community can go there without them.
Like I asked your correspondent when they came, to my office in Ado-Ekiti, is that actually a flag? As far as I'm concerned, that's a rag, a red rag that has whatever drawings on it, hoisted on the branch of a shrub. That is not a flag to me.
Right.
It's inconsequential as far as I'm concerned.
But it wasn't inconsequential to the people. And I think, because you work for the people, you should be concerned that the people are concerned.
I am very concerned. You see, I don't believe in making a mountain out of a molehill. I know what His Excellency, that's the governor, has put in place. There's no cause for alarm. There's no cause for concern.
What has been put in place? When you say he's put in place things, what are those things?
Now, the security architecture of Ekiti State is one of the most sound in this country today. Our governor himself is a security person, so that's his forte. That whole axis, since that incident happened in June, we have a joint task force, patrol team, that patrols that whole area, especially the border towns. Because most of the time when we have incidents, be it armed robbery or be it, maybe cattle herder, farmer incidents, they happen around the border towns because Ekiti State is like a transit route for, the herders when they go with their cattle. So once in a while, they have incidents with the farmers. So that task force patrols that whole axis.
Right. So we'll come to some of these incidents which you mentioned, but I'd like to bring in Mr. Laber now. He has said that this is perhaps people making a mountain out of a molehill. He sees no issues here. Is that what you think also, mountain out of a molehill?
Thank you very much. It's not about what I think. It's about situation on ground. We have our community in that axis. I think in Ido local government, where the Striking Fulani of Ekiti State resides there. That's where he resides. And the chairman of Miyetti Allah Ekiti State, I also spoke with him since we had the incident. I had nothing of such. And for what has been propagated on media about the flag, the red flag, what have you, I think it's a kind of act that will just be displayed by a kind of civilized people. And we're talking about herdsmen. Herdsmen today, you mostly find them in the wild areas where they rear their cattle. They have nothing to do with biro. They have nothing to do with art, designing, what have you. Come to talk of going to a kind of area and mount a flag.
Are you saying they're not learned, or you're saying that they don't engage in these acts?
They don't engage in these acts. We have a few learned of them, but I'm not sure they could go to this extent of how they are experienced. They only engage in their business of rearing cattle, all about. If we talk about encroachment, destroying farm crops or what have you, I'm sure that could take place, and that has been looked into.
Just one moment. I recall that during the time of the former governor of Ekiti State, that's former Governor Ayodele Fayosh, he actually had this agreement with hunters, I'm sure you remember, where he rallied hunters in the state against what he perceived as a possible invasion by herdsmen. So was that a concern then? Was that happening then?
No, actually, I was in Ekiti then. I happened to be part of the initiative, the conflict resolution committee, that it should be called then. The synergy between the headers community, I mean the Fulani community, the farmers themselves, the security agencies that are working together. Well, I think I stayed there for over 2 months, going around the whole state. They have 16 local government that we visited almost every local government. I mean, working together with the security agencies, discussing vital issues with the communities that are affected, more especially Aramoko and in Ido particular. There are one axis where these farm settlements are that we visited then. My national president of Mieti Allah, Alaji Ardo Kiro, was also around then. We all went together, we all went around. The task force that was constituted, I mean, that was initiated by the governor then, I think we work with them, we move around. There was peaceful coexistence between us.
What I'm saying is,
yes,
if there were concerns then, there are possibly those same concerns now. And Mr. Olumilo, I'd like to take you up again on what some of those residents said in that report we saw, saying that, you know, they feel that their communities are about to be taken over. They mentioned the casualty rate. And apparently, these are major concerns. Seeing the way the people are taking it, they have seen these things. So do you still think it's a mountain, perhaps, out of a molehill?
No.
Let me reiterate that what is important to the government of Ekiti State and our governor is the security of lives and property of our people. You understand? That comes first. It's our priority. Now, if there is any inkling of an invasion or maybe a disruption of their means of livelihood, then definitely it's going to bother us. But now the fact remains. Now we're isolating all of this and looking at this particular incident. What exactly was the basis for the protest? Seeing a red flag, as you call it, hanging off a shrub. Now we sent people there.
What about the casualty, the person that was killed?
In June.
Yeah.
If they had been protesting in June, they would say, okay, they're protesting because of that casualty. Now, you can't protest the death of somebody 6 months after and say that is the basis for your
for
fear.
them, they have seen a trend. So, I mean, I'm sure you'll understand their fears.
Wait. Now, what trend? It happened. One person lost his life. We regret it. The man was a hero, right? Wonderful person. His Excellency visited the town, met with his family, made promises to them, which I believe he has kept to a very large extent, right? The only issue is we promised that we're going to put a police post there. That is in the works. And instead of just one police post, when you hear of an attack, they put a police post. Now we're thinking of a string of police posts where there'll be communication amongst them. That's what we're working on. It's a master plan. It's in the works. That's going to happen very soon. Now, talking about the trend, what is the trend? It happened in June. Right? We took care of it. We constituted a task force that consists of the military, police, NSCDC, that's civil defense, our own Y Brigade in Ekiti, then, the local vigilantes too, Now that one is there. So what has happened since then?
Was there an investigation to fish out the killer of that hero that you talked about?
Oh, yes, there was.
And what was the outcome?
We have not found the person yet. People don't just kill people, then sit down and wait to be arrested. I'm sure you understand that. Now, there are no eyewitnesses. Nobody saw exactly who shot who.
The people who are concerned are not just the ordinary people in the environment. They are community leaders. One of them is a monarch. Shouldn't that be something that will really concern governments?
A monarch. Did the monarch say he saw people there? Now, let me go back to this issue.
Anyway, let's take a question from Maokwe in Abuja. She has a question for you.
Okay.
Well, let's just take that and then we'll come back. Maokwe.
Well, I'm reading here that you have investigated thoroughly the incidents that happened in Orin-Ekiti, and you have said it's a hoax. Is that right?
This incident, yes.
The alleged invasion that, you know, their farmland has been invaded by herders. They've eaten a lot of their crops. They're young people who do not have jobs, who have taken to farming, are also, you know, they've had their farmlands destroyed as a result of this invasion. Were you able to investigate any of these and come out with a conclusive result? Because I'm reading that you have. Is that true?
Yes, we have investigated this. Now, there have been incidences of, you know, maybe farm crops being, you know, destroyed by, you know, cattle and all that. But when you're talking about having land invaded or annexed, which is the you know, the basis of this protest, so to speak, it is not true. There was no invasion. You see, after we got news of the protest, the governor sent people down there to go and, you know, investigate what exactly happened. Was there any annexure? Was there any annexation, so to speak? The people got there, and you see, when you have you know, situations like that, first of all, you find out whether those cattle were actually there. Now, what are the tell signs that, you know, cattle have invaded a place, or cattle, you know, are existing in a place? Is one, the droppings of these cattle. You can't hide them. It's either they're dry or they're fresh. There was nothing like that there. There were no cattle droppings. So that means the cattle, and most likely the herders, were not there at that point in time. So we're now trying to find out what exactly caused this protest. What exactly caused it? There should be a basis for things like this. Now, when I heard the news initially, when I heard that a part of, you know, of the community had been annexed, sincerely speaking, I thought by that point in time they had already built a local government secretariat and everything, and, you know, they already started their own kingdom, so to speak. But there was nothing like that. You know, we took pictures of the so-called flag, the whole area. You know, people went in, scouted around, and there was nothing like that. They did not even see one herdsman. So that's why we're asking, what exactly brought this about? So we just believe that there were some, well, let me say, other things involved in this.
Okay. Okay, Marquez, you have some questions for you.
Yes.
Marquez?
What are the other things that could be involved in this?
The human factor.
When you say
A fifth columnist, that's it. You see, at times, people try to cut off their nose.
Obviously, it would seem that there is some distrust between the people of that particular community and who are playing host to their host to the herdsmen, and perhaps the herdsmen as well. There seems to be some suspicion between the two of them. Is it possible that the state government will be holding conversations with the two of them to find out, the two groups, to find out precisely what the matter is?
Exactly, we're going to do that. You know, against the backdrop of what just happened, we're still going to call the community leaders and the Mietiala leadership to find out why this happened. Because we can't just, you know, sweep it under the rug and feel that, well, everything is good. We're going to, you know, set up an investigation again, call both parties together and ask why exactly this happened. What was the basis for this? Because a day before, there was no noise. A week before, we had no issues. Why the spontaneous protest? Why the carrying of placards? And my question is, if you have issues or you have fears that your community is going to be invaded, what is the first thing you do? You're supposed to reach out to the security forces. You're supposed to reach out to the police. You're supposed to reach out to the DSS that's there. You're supposed to reach out, maybe to state government. But none of that happened. They called the press. Why call the press? If you're afraid for your life, if you're afraid that, oh, we might be invaded and we might be killed, people might be, harmed, you don't call the press. They don't carry guns. They can't protect you. You call the press, you carry...
They have made efforts to get through to
That is not true. Now, the special advisor to His Excellency on security matters, that's Brigadier General Gudano, retired, is on speed dial with all the community leaders of that Ori. That much I know. When this news broke, I believe I was the first person to hear, because I'm in charge of the press. They called me that they're in Ori. This is happening, that's happening. I said, Ori, what are you doing in Ori? He said, people are protesting there. What's the basis of their protest? They said part of the land has been annexed and they're going to be invaded and all that.
Let's ask, is that true? Is it true that there's been some annexation of a community in Ori?
How could that be in a free nation? I mean, where security is beefed all over. We have the police, we have the military, other security organizations all over. How could that happen? And then how many of them are even residents in that access? I'm telling you the hierarchy of the Selection Fulani of Ekiti.
So how many are there in the environment?
There are few. How could you just come and how can you just come?
Can you
precisely tell you the numbers?
Yeah, is it possible?
Actually, I think with their cattle and everything, they shouldn't be more than 1,000 if they are up to.
That's with the cattle?
With the cattle.
Right.
So how come could they take over and invade such kind of communities? Such has never happened in the Southwest.
But what is the relationship like? Because, I mean, this is not the first time we've heard, issues like this across the country, things like this coming up. So perhaps there's something to actually investigate here. So on one hand, first, what is the relationship like between the herders and the farmers, what you have heard on ground?
Look, we have solid relationship between us and the host communities there. And you heard it from the commissioner himself, from the house's mouth, who can give out all vital informations. The security are investigating. They are on. Right from the stage of the protest. The police, every other security agencies are there. And they've invited all the hierarchies of our community, asking them investigating. If such...
Definitely, it should give some concern that, in an environment where there is a solid relationship, there is a protest. How many people, now, not away from the cattle now, how many people are there in that community who are herders, who are, as you said, not residents?
No, there won't be any reason for non-residents to come in there, because these residents are there, they occupy the territory, and they are the security even for their environment because of the wild area they are. And I think such situations, kind of problems occurs in that kind of environment, they will be held responsible. Do they know that?
So no, the question is,
given us the number
how many of your members are in that community aside cattle?
Actually, I didn't get the full information of exact numbers, but I know we have few.
Like
not
maybe
up to, not up to that 1,000, as I said.
How many people? Maybe like 100, 50, 500 people?
They can be up to 500.
Okay, on a final note, like I said, this is not the first time. So when you hear reports like this, do you feel as though you're being perhaps negatively profiled?
Honestly, we are. Because going out on media as such and giving out this kind of information, false information, can lead to a kind of scary being in that kind of environment. We've been residing in the Southwest for over 200 years, executing our business, and everybody knows how these things are exposed in every community. And for the good being of why we are here is for display, carrying out activities of rearing cattle and taking them to market for beef consumption and what have you. So why do we get engaged in such kind of activities? No, we've been having solid relationship with host communities, and we've been trying to talk to government to look at a side of security challenges, just because we find ourselves in the kind of environment that these things normally happens, most especially the kidnapping, the armed robbery, what have you. It happens, and it's easy for our community to be indicted just because we remain there. But we do voice it out mostly. We call the media sometimes to say we are not part of this activities, because we want to be peaceful as wherever we find ourselves in the Southwest. We want to remain, because without peace, our our commodities is very exposed.
You know, one thing
And it's easy to assess where we live, where we can go, what we can do.
Right.
So imagine this, the flag thing that it has been staged. Can they stage a such flag and still remain in that particular area?
Okay, let's take a break, you know, for a few messages, and when we come back, we'll be back just to wrap up the whole conversation and the show today. Please stay with us. All right, thanks for staying with us, Mr. Olumide. We have to go now, but I would like you to give some form of assurance to the people of Orin-Ekiti. 5 months after an incident happened, they are protesting. And they are saying it's because the herders are back. Was there ever a time that they left? And if that was so, and they are now back, you need to give some assurance to the people that there is absolutely no cause for alarm.
Well, thank you very much. Like you rightly said, the herders have always lived amongst our people. They've lived there for centuries. So whether they left and returned is not the issue here. They've always been there. But you see, after the unfortunate incident that happened in June, you know, well, why it's coming up 5 months after that, I don't know. But my assurance is Orin-Ekiti is safe. Ekiti State is safe. We don't want people to throw news around that's going to scare people from coming down to Ekiti State for this Christmas season. We have a lot of things packaged for the people for Christmas. So please come home. Ekiti is safe, right? There are no issues. There are no cattle herder issues. There's no form of crime or criminality going on.
Right.
I believe the Miyetti Allah representative of the Southwest will give you that same assurance that the cattle herders are not going to, you know, harm anybody.
Right. And I'd like him to add to this Twitter user, one of our viewers on Twitter, Olushola Kolawole, saying that the herders should respect the wishes of the people of Ekiti State. That's from his perspective. So if the wishes of the people, as it were to perhaps for the herders to leave their land, what would be your response to that?
No, actually, that is like, it's not going to happen. In the sense that we are all Nigerians. And let me get back to what you just asked, the coming in of, or the invasion or what have you. Look, Ekiti is not where these cattle herders do come for dry season grazing. It's out of it now. The dry season grazing is yet another season. And I believe in Ekiti, the numbers of even the residents there has reduced drastically because they'll move for searching of green grass. Some part of Ogun State and Lagos State and Oyo State. That is where you have their high number. So there's no reason for everybody to get scared that this invasion or they are coming in large number or what have you.
Okay.
There's no point of that. Everybody should come home, as the commissioner has said.
Okay.
It's free. We want to be peaceful as far as we are in the Southwest. Okay. We've been here and we love the environment and we want to do our conducive businesses.
Okay. Very, very quick one, Mr. Commissioner. Was there any form of compensation paid to the people who lost their, product, their farm produce or harvest in the last time? Yes, no?
As of now, not yet. It has to be documented.
Okay.
You understand? There has to be a request.
So is there any such in the plan?
Well, when the papers are given to government,
Okay.
then there'll be evaluation for compensation and all that.
Okay.
And yes, we'll look into that.
All right. I want to thank you very much, gentlemen, for being a part of our conversation this morning. Truly, truly appreciate your coming here with us. Mr. Muyiwa Olumilua is Commissioner for Information, Ekiti State. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for having me here.
As well as Mr. Mohammed Labar, Chairman, Southwest Zone, Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
And that's the much we can take on the show today. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Ayo Makine. Have a wonderful day.
Well, I'm Kayode Okikelu. Have a beautiful day.
And Maokwe Ogun Yusuf, just before we go, I must say that we see your message, Akinwo Labi. We'll certainly forward it to the Commissioner and get you a response back. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf.